Here we go. Awesome. So today during our captain's meeting, we will be chatting through a few things. So we introduced a few of our staff members here already. We will go through some tournament information, the schedule, like Emily mentioned, go over some rules, and then I'll talk through some athletic trainer things, and we'll wrap up with some fun visitor guide information, and then talk through our Cameron indoor shoot around sign up. So got a lot of content here for you. So first and foremost, tournament information, where to park, where to go, all that fun stuff. So our parking will be in the Science Drive garage, which is about a 10-minute walk to our facility. So it's not ideal, but it is the best parking location on campus. I'm sure many of you all think that your campus probably has the worst parking. Parking on campus is never easy, but we have a parking attendant that will be here to let you in and out of the garage during specific times. So those times are listed on this slide. Outside of these times, a parking attendant will not be present to let you in. So you need to make sure that you are traveling and adjusting for that travel time to the garage to our facility. Our facility access, so this is the front of our building. We have the Wilson Recreation Center, which is also attached to Card Gym. So it looks like one big building, but technically it's two separate buildings. However, this main entrance will take you to both. For our tournament access, there will be a side door here to the left of the main entrance of Wilson. You will see staff there. You will have signage that will direct you to that specific check-in, and we will have staff there to charge spectator fees, provide direction, help with team check-in, and all that fun stuff. So there will be a separate tournament entrance that you will need to go through. Once you go through those doors, again, the staff can provide direction on where to go, but the basketball courts will be around the corner to your left in Wilson, and then the Card Gym court will be around the desk to the right. So it'll be on this other opposite side of the Wilson entrance. The phone number listed up here is the front desk phone number to Wilson. So if you do have any questions about facility access, you are able to reach out to that phone number, or you can call my office phone and it will direct your call to my cell phone. More access information. So we will provide all the teams with team credentials at check-in. This just must be worn upon entry to the facility. We will also have team benches on the courts for your teams to sit, but we are going to ask that you leave all of your personal items and belongings if you're in Wilson on the track above the courts. There will be designated team areas with signage for where you can put your belongings. And this is just to help maintain more of a sideline on our courts and help with mitigating risk and things like that. So we will have separate locations for your personal items. If teams need to use the locker room, we do ask that a tournament staff escorts you down to the locker rooms. They're on our lower floor. And this is, again, just to help mitigate some risk and help provide direction on where to go. So if your team will need to change, we do have locker rooms available for you. There are restrooms located directly off of the basketball courts in Wilson. And then there's a family restroom located downstairs in Card Gym for you to use the restroom, for spectators to use the restroom and whatnot. So there are other restrooms. And then we'll also have additional water coolers available throughout the facility for you to get hydrated. So, and then last thing, we will have spectator seating. So we will be using our bleachers for spectator seating, and they will be positioned along the baseline in Wilson, and then on the sidelines in Card. There's going to be a lot of people in and out of this facility this weekend, which we're really excited about. So These are all things to keep in mind as we're going through the building and managing kind of in a close, tight-knit space as well. So please just make sure that you are helping us and following these facility access guidelines as well. Some facility policies. So when you are in the facility, and this will apply for all of your fans and spectators that come as well, we are here to play in our NIRSA championship basketball tournament. So we are limited to just using the basketball courts and then the restrooms and things like that. So we should not have any NIRSA participants going into the weight room or hopping on the cardio equipment. That will be strictly prohibited and monitored. We will also have a Red Mango Cafe available for you to use to purchase drinks and food that's right in our facilities. We just ask that you eat on that main level, and you'll see benches and tables where you can eat your food, or you can take it outside. Hopefully the weather's nice and you can get some sunshine and eat your food outside, but we can't have any food or drink on the courts either. Some prohibited items are listed here. These are pretty standard. So strictly prohibiting alcohol, drugs, tobacco products. We are a smokeless campus. And then pets are not allowed in our facility as well, unless you have a service animal. So again, if we can make sure that all of our NIRSA participants, fans, spectators are adhering to all of our facility guidelines, it's going to be a really successful tournament. I mentioned spectator fees briefly. We will be charging spectator fees. It will be $5 per day or $10 for the entire weekend. And this is going to be card only. So we will not accept cash. So if you have any fans that are traveling to support your teams, awesome, we love it. But we will be charging spectator fees for the entire weekend. So if you can just give them a heads up, that would be great. Alrighty, team forms. Thank you for all of the teams that have emailed me your forms and those that have also communicated any issues you've had with your team forms. This is just a friendly reminder to please bring all of your documents with you to team check-in, the original documents. Make sure you please bring those. All right, those were all of my tournament logistics that I had. I don't see any questions in the chat, and so we will keep on rocking and rolling. So the tournament schedule has been published on IM Leagues if you have not been able to look at that yet. All teams have been scheduled to pool play games, and all of our teams will advance to a single elimination playoff bracket. Like I said, game information has been posted to IM Leagues. And caveat here, schedule is subject to change if any team's tournament status changes, but I don't anticipate that happening. You all are going to be on time and show up, and it's going to be great, right? I know a couple of you have had issues with IM Leagues. We'll chat through that later, but don't worry, we will be able to assist you with all the IM Leagues troubleshooting issues. This is the time if you want to screenshot, you can. But this is that schedule so everyone can see when your pool play games are. Again, this has been added to IM Leagues, and then you can see where all those locations are as well. And then we will begin our tournament games Saturday afternoon and then wrap up Sunday with all of our championship games. All right. So we had a question, does the whole team have to be at check-in? Ideally, yes, but if there are travel hiccups and things like that, we understand as long as the team captain is present to turn in those forms and get those credentials. As long as one representative is there, that will be fine. But you will need all of your team available for your game. So make sure you all get there to start your game. So now we're going to get into some tournament rules, and I am going to kick us off and then let Emily hop in here. So as I mentioned, game time is start time. So all of those games, again, have been published in IM leagues. So if your game starts at 6, we will be starting the clock at 6. So you need to be at your court at least 5-10 minutes early so you can get checked in. You will need to bring your physical ID. That can be a student ID card, that can be your driver's license, but it has to be your physical ID for you to check in. So please make sure you bring your ID. We will provide game balls for the contest. We will not provide that game ball for warm-ups. We will have additional basketballs available. But if you also bring your own basketballs, that can't hurt. The more the merrier, right? Like I mentioned, all players must be listed on their team roster and on those forms that you have submitted to me. And then we need to get all of your teammates added to IM leagues. Again, I know some people have had some issues with getting IM leagues up and running for their team. We are working through those troubleshooting issues. So again, I will be in touch and will help you get all of your players on IM leagues. But if you have any questions about that, just please let me know.
Awesome. I am quickly going to go through some of the NIRSA basketball rule changes. These were adopted by NIRSA. And if any of your teams are affiliates with NIRSA club basketball, this is a similar rule format. And ultimately with the 2023-2024 National Federation of High School Athletics changing some of the timing rules and mechanics for where the ball is going to be thrown in for the next inbound play and things like that. Ultimately, our goals for officials are to help them learn and grow. So the rules that are adopted from NIRSA and NFHS can kind of streamline what's happening in high school, college, and then with club basketball as well. So for this tournament, and this will not be the only place that y'all see this. Our timing is going to be 4 10-minute quarters, as opposed to if you've participated in a NIRSA tournament before, 2 20-minute halves. We have 4 10-minute quarters. Our clock is going to run until the last 30 seconds of the first, second, and third quarter, and then it will stop for all dead ball and whistle situations in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Okay, so we'll have folks, staff on the clock. Our officials will also understand when the clock is meant to start and stop. In between the first and second quarters, there'll be a 30-second intermission period where if you're a coach on this call, you can get your team together and kind of game plan for and strategize what we're doing in the next quarter, take water and things like that. And then our halftime will be a maximum of 5 minutes. I'll get to this a little bit later, but ultimately, like I said before, the goal in addition to providing y'all with an excellent participant experience is to help student officials learn and grow. So during the halftime 5-minute period specifically, it wouldn't be atypical for an officials committee member to come out onto the floor potentially at mid-court so that teams could still be shooting around on either side and provide the officials with some feedback going in from the first half to the second half. So we'll likely use most, if not all of the 5 minutes every time, since that will be a place for evaluations. Each team is going to be granted 2 60-second timeouts for the game. Okay, so it's not a use it in the first half, lose it in the second half. It's 2 60-second timeouts each team for the game. Each team, and this is a big rule change, specifically for NFHS this year. Teams are allotted 5 team fouls per quarter before going into a double bonus situation for every common foul thereafter. Traditionally, it was 7 fouls as a 1-and-1 bonus situation for every common foul up to the 10th common foul, and then we were shooting 2 free throws. We have 5 team fouls. On the 5th team foul, if it's a common foul, non-shooting, non-player, and non-team control foul, no 1-and-1, 2 shots for the person who was fouled, and then we would resume play as we would. So you make it new offense, has the end line to throw it in. If it's missed, rebound and play on. All team fouls reset every quarter. So if both teams are in the double bonus in the first, at the start of the 10 minutes for the second quarter, we're starting at 0-0 for the team. Players still have 5 fouls before they are fouled out. So that part will be kept and recorded in a scorebook at the table. But otherwise, team fouls, they reset. There will also be a mercy rule implemented both within pool play and bracket play. If a team is up by 20 points or more with those 2 minutes remaining in the game, so in the fourth quarter, the clock is just going to continue to run. We won't have a traditional start-stop for whistles, officials' time, injury time, things like that. Even if at that point, even if the score gets below a 20-point differential at any point after the 2-minute warning, you could say, in the fourth quarter, the clock is still going to continue to run. So it's 20 points and clock's running. We will have overtime once we move into bracket play, which Brittany outlined is likely to start on Saturday. Overtime just in bracket play, we'll have a 4-minute extra period. So teams will get together with our officials group. We'll go over the overtime rules. We'll have a 4-minute extra period. The clock is going to start and stop for all whistles and officials' times and timeouts in only the last minute of the overtime period. New jump ball, but the jump ball will be jumpers facing their bench basket direction. Does that all make sense? It's a little different, but it should be good.
Awesome.
Oh, and there's one additional timeout for teams, excuse me, during overtime. So if you still had one remaining because you didn't use all of your timeouts during regulation, you would have 2 timeouts for the overtime, 4-minute overtime period. One thing I know that is not on this sheet that we will be implementing during the tournament, because it's now within NFHS throw-in procedures. If there is a foul or a violation in a team's front court, and it is within the lane, essentially the lane and the key, all the way down to the corners of the front court, if that happens in anywhere within that space, we're taking the ball in the spot closest at the 3-point or the 3-foot posted up mark outside of either lane. So if it happens on the right side, we're going to the 3-foot posted up on the right side, left side, 3-foot posted up on that side. And if it happens in the front court anywhere outside of that, we're at the 28-foot mark on either side. It's maybe about 2 feet off of the 3-point arc. So rather than it going to the spot closest to where the foul or violation occurred, there are 4 spots in the front court where the ball can be thrown in from. Which is the way they do it in women's college. So if you watch a lot of women's college, you'd be familiar with it. Any questions about rule changes? I don't know if there's something in the chat. Got it.
Awesome. Something that has changed for any of our teams that maybe came to our tournament last year, dunking will be allowed during the game only. So last year, if you were here, it was no dunking at all. This year, we will allow you to dunk during the game only. So if you dunk before or after the game, during warm-ups, during halftime, that will carry a technical foul. And that is the only time that you are prohibited to dunk. But again, dunking during the game only will be allowed. For uniforms, teams must wear their own jerseys with a number on the front, back, or both. Numbers must be neat and meet the following requirements. So they have to be 1 or 2 digits with the numbers 0 through 5 only. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are some examples here listed. So You could have the number 0000 or number 4 or 11. We do not allow numbers that contain digits 6 through 9. And this is to help with calling fouls and our officials reporting fouls and things like that. We do ask that the numbers have to be ironed or sewn on. You can't tape any numbers on. And we need your numbers to be at least 4 inches in height on both the front and the back. So they need to be clearly visible. That way, again, our officials can see the numbers, report the numbers. And you cannot have duplicate numbers on your roster. So we can't have 2 13s or things like that. If you can, please keep the same number jersey throughout the entire duration of the tournament. That's just going to help speed up check-in process and get our games and schedule on staying on time. Some improper equipment includes jewelry. So jewelry is strictly prohibited. We ask that you do not play with in any jewelry. And this mirrors NFHS high school rules as well. So no jewelry, no hats, or anything with like a hard bill. You can't have anything with like a hard knot, or any hard metal casts or braces. So these are all going to be improper equipment.
Awesome. Into protests. So protests are permitted. They are permitted for very specific things. If we are filing a protest on site, it can only be for a misinterpretation or a misapplication of the rules or player eligibility. Protests are not permitted for officials' judgment. So if you think that something was meant to be basket interference and a basket should count, that's not something that can be protested, as it's a judgment related call. If we are protesting, the protest has to be made by the team either in possession of the ball to call a timeout, or during a dead ball and a timeout would be called. Prior to the ball being put back into play is when this protest would be under review. So the captain should notify the officials on the floor, we'd like to take a timeout to protest. Okay, we stop it because your team is in possession of the ball, or it's already a dead ball situation, and we're acknowledging the timeout and granting the timeout. Either myself or Natasha Harris, or both of us, or members of the host committee will come over to that court after being prompted by someone in the facility that we do have a protest on that court. We'll review the protest requirements and essentially all the implications relative or surrounding what the misapplication or misinterpretation of the rule was. If the ruling is upheld, so you protested something and it is in fact true that we can fix it, or it is something that can be fixed, you will get that timeout back. If it is not upheld, or if the protest doesn't prevail, the team would just lose that timeout, and we're kind of resuming the game as if it is nothing happened then, except we just came out of a timeout situation. So same resumption of play as you would after a traditional timeout. The final ruling on the play will be given before we're restarting the game, so both teams know, or coaches are able to get together and things like that. And the last point for protests is that while there will be one filmed court in the card gym, NFHS doesn't allow media or things like that to be able to be incorporated into protest related things. So while we do have video available for some of those games, it's not something that we could use to review protest implications or if those requirements are in fact being met, to which it could be upheld. So protests are welcome. You have to make it known. You have to take a timeout. If you win the protest, you get the timeout back, and however we can fix it, it will be fixed. But if not, we just burned a timeout. Any questions about protests? All right. moving on to conduct. Yeah, this is a revised NIRSA sportsmanship statement. Feel free to take some time ultimately to review this, but essentially, this is an intramural sports tournament where, again, the goal is for an excellent participant experience, an excellent staff experience, but sportsmanship is an integral component of what the interscholastic or intercollegiate competition truly embodies. So we do expect that teams, while they're here, are adhering to positive sportsmanship. And that's not to say we don't expect y'all to get emotional, but some points of emphasis specifically within NIRSA basketball, the National Federation of High School, and things like that, kind of outline bench decorum. So we want y'all to jump up out of your seats and celebrate when there's a good play or a good block or things like that, but not necessarily addressing or taunting or staying up in the bench area, not coming out onto the floor, even if we are excited because we just had a really excellent block. Like, those are things that are stand up, get excited, cheer, celebrate, sit back down, so it doesn't necessarily need to be addressed in other conduct and sporting behavior implications that we have within the rule book. So some of those things, whether it's on the court or in on the bench, are offensive language that's derogatory toward the team, fans of the opponent's team, officials, and things like that. They're hopefully we'll be able to send to y'all as well NIRSA's inclusion and bias reporting form. But ultimately, like, we want this to be a safe, inclusive, and welcoming place. And while we'll have expectations for our officials and our staff, we hold the same expectations for y'all to communicate if you're a captain with your team or if you're a coach with your team as well. Excellent. Yeah, this is a nice picture, Brittany. So like I said, to start this meeting, myself and Natasha are your co-directors of officials. The purpose of having our officials out there ultimately is to learn and grow. We'll have an officials committee, which are other professional staff members or graduate assistants from other institutions, taking time at halftime and at the end of the game to evaluate our officials on mechanics and positioning and decision-making, judgment, that sort of thing, to get them to an accelerated level, better than they were when they started this tournament, which we hope to see happen for y'all as well. Legitimate questions are encouraged on the court. We will prompt our officials that when they hear a legitimate question, that they are answering that legitimate question to the best of their ability, because they're humans. We're all humans at the end of the day. And if y'all truly have a question about whether or not something was or wasn't called, or what you could do better in a certain situation, I think if it's legitimate, we're expecting our officials to have a response to the best of their ability. So we certainly encourage y'all to do that. If it's an issue that rises to a level that is elevated in any way, shape, or form past what an official as a student could do on the court, come find a committee member. You'll see us kind of tucked in the corner of each of the courts, potentially 2 or 3 of us, and then Natasha and I will be roaming around. So if y'all have any issues or concerns at all throughout the tournament, we certainly will lend a listening ear and hopefully be able to talk through that. But they are students, they're doing their best, and we know that y'all are too. So we just expect a mutual understanding of we're here to grow and get better.
Awesome. Are there any last minute questions about any of the tournament logistics or tournament rules that we have reviewed so far? Great. So wrapping up with a few housekeeping items, we will have athletic trainers on site. They are there to assist in emergency situations, whether that is a rolled ankle or something more severe. But if any of our players are wishing to have their ankle taped, you must bring your own roll of tape for our trainers. Our trainers will not provide athletic tape to tape your ankle. So for reference, one taped ankle takes about one roll of tape. So if you need to have your ankle taped every day of the tournament, bring 3, maybe 4 rolls of tape. So please make sure you bring your own tape if you want our trainers to tape your ankle. But they will be there to assist in other areas. Our visitors guide has been live on our website. So if you have not accessed that, you can visit our website. It's recreation.duke.edu. And you can find all of this information in that visitors guide. I will also share this recording and share this PowerPoint with you all and provide some additional resources that have been mentioned here as well. So share this with your friends, family, whoever may be coming to support you. Durham, North Carolina is a really cool city. And I hope you do get the opportunity to explore while you're here as well. But we're really excited to welcome you all to our city and our university. And we're looking forward to a very fun, very full tournament. So thank you all for your participation.